Hello and welcome to Sunday Sermon with me, Graham Hughes. Welcome one, welcome all. Before we get into it, I'd like to want to say a big hello to Billy Kershaw and Sarah Davis in the chat there. We've got Diz in there, one angry pagan and his big spanner. We've also got Paula Thomas in there and Colin Baker and who else have we got? We've got Shropshire Chris as well and Sid. Hello, everyone. Sorry if I missed your name out. So if you'd like to join our friends in the chat this morning, and it should be a live one, give us a like, first of all, if you're already subscribed. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, and then you'll be able to enter the conversation on this. Because today, we're going to be talking about the emotion versus the reality. Unfortunately, the unfortunate world in which we live in. That's what we're going to be talking about today. We all want the catharsis that would be provided by Britain, Europe, every other country in the world telling Trump to fuck off. That would be bloody wonderful. We would all cheer. They'd be dancing in the streets. Maybe Starmer's favourability rating would tick up from minus 61 to, I don't know, minus 59. But the world, geopolitics, and the USA in particular is built to punish that kind of brutal honesty, I'm afraid. There is a real dichotomy here, the choice between satisfying words and actual consequences, and this is where we stand at the moment. Starmer turning around and looking at what happened this weekend in Venezuela and saying this is a violation of international law, America is out of order, Trump is a disgusting, orange, toxic, fascist blob. It will feel righteous, it would feel honest, and God damn it would feel emotionally satisfying. But at the same moment, would also invite retaliation. And that retaliation would land on the ordinary people of this country, if that was to happen. And I'm not here to defend Starmer. I'm not here to be an apologist for Starmer, because I don't think he's doing a particularly good job as leader of the Labour Party or as Prime Minister at the moment. He's crap at getting people to feel excited or hopeful for the future. He just sounds like some middle manager who just drones on. He just doesn't have what it takes to, well, he doesn't have what Britain needs right now. Let's put it that way. I'd be very, very, very surprised if he's still the leader of the party and still the leader of the country come the next general election. Having said that, if I was in his position right now, I would have said pretty much the same thing. And I hate having to say that. I really fucking hate having to say that. Thankfully, I'm not in his position, so I can call Donald Trump the most disgusting, vile, paedophile, gobshite mound of mad flesh that has ever crawled from the ocean depths. Now, I can say that because I'm just some gobshite on a stick here on YouTube. But if I was the leader of this country, I wouldn't say it. I'm going to explain the trap that Britain is in. So, on Friday night, Saturday morning, the United States launched airstrikes across northern Venezuela in the early hours, and the US forces bombed targets around Caracas, the capital, and seized Nicolas Maduro, the dictator, the leader, the president of, whether he was fairly elected, I don't think he was, it doesn't matter, he was the leader, and his wife, and flew them to New York and announced criminal indictments. And one of the things that you've got to realize at this point is that there was no oversight here, no congressional approval of doing this. There was no, proper war declared or anything like that. This is something that goes back to 1648 and the Treaty of Westphalia. God, that's a deep cut, isn't it? Which basically says that the leader of one country can't take the leader of another country. It was all kings back then, but they can't take the leader of another country and put them on trial for crimes in your country. You can't do that. And that's been the standard of international diplomacy for years. It's why when, I don't know, Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe turned up at the UN and he shook hands with Jack Straw. It's why Jack Straw couldn't just, put him in a headlock and take him down the busy station. He couldn't do that. And in the same way that there are these leaders who stay in post and cannot be put on trial until they're not leader anymore. So we could think of Idi Amin. While he was leader, he couldn't be put on trial. When he was not leader, he could be put on trial, and that's why he ran away to live in exile in Saudi Arabia, which had no extradition treaty with any of the countries that were pissed with him, and therefore he lived out the rest of his life in a palatial palace of piss. And then you look at someone like Slobodan Milosevic, who was the leader of the former Yugoslavia, Serbian leader in Belgrade, who was seemed untouchable until he was ousted, and as soon as he was ousted, there he was in the dock in the International Criminal Court in The Hague. Same thing happened with Robert Duterte over in... thank you, darling. Cheers. Thank you. Same thing happened with Duterte in the Philippines. He wasn't leader anymore, and at that point, he was available to actually be arrested for his crimes. Now, I've railed against this in the past because I think it kind of makes a system where if you are Vladimir Putin and you are a wanted war criminal around the world for the many, many crimes against humanity that you have committed, you're safe as long as you stay president of that country. So what's stopping you from changing the constitution so that you're leader for life? Well, obviously you got to do that. That's your choice. You can live in a palace for the rest of your life with some, plastic accoutrements on the wall that have been painted gold, or you can go to jail for the rest of your life. What are you going to choose? What are you going to choose? And this is why I also think that Trump's not going to stand down voluntarily. But I'm getting off the point here. Donald Trump has declared that America will run Venezuela. God, he can't even run America, and now he's taking on Venezuela, a country of what, 22 million is it in Venezuela? What's the population of Venezuela? Let's get into this before I make an arse of myself and come up with some population of Venezuela. Oh, it's 28 to 30 million. Oh wow, bit more than I thought. I mean, it was an okay guess. I mean, it was in the ballpark. It wasn't like I said it was 4.7 million, and it turned out to be actually 1.4 billion. It wasn't that bad, but yeah. So he's going to take on a country of 30 million people, a lot of whom are pissed off of what he's done. And the place is a powder keg at the moment. And unfortunately, I do think that there is a very, very good chance of it descending into civil war after this. He thinks he's going to take all the oil. And he's been really honest about this. He's been really open. In the past, they've gone, no, it's not about oil. It's about oil. Whereas Trump just stands there and goes, it's about oil. I'm going to steal all the oil. That's what we're going for. We're going for the oil. Because he can say that. Because he knows he can shoot someone in the face on Fifth Avenue in New York and get away with it. He knows he can get away with it. He can do absolutely anything that he turns his mind to. This is why I'm quite worried about Greenland, but that's another story. Chris C., thank you very much for the £5 super chat. This has nothing to do with democracy. This is about oil. Trump has said as much. How is this any different from what Putin or Netanyahu is doing? Yeah. And in a response to Trump's clearly illegal invasion and kidnapping of a sitting president in another country, what's his name? The little twat. He's got a face like a bollock. He's got like a bollock face. He sounds like a foghorn, just of ignorance and stupidity. What's his name? Racism. What's the racist bollock face? I can't remember his name. Anyway, he's a British guy. He's a gobshite. He looks like a deflated testicle. And Farage, that's him. That's the one. He went on and said, he put a post on one of these disgusting social media sites saying, oh, well, this will make, this will make Xi in China. This will make Putin in Russia think twice, eh? I'm like, you on crack? It's not going to make them think twice. It's going to make them think, oh, we can do that. And no one's going to stop us. Because we say, well, America did it. America started it. So what's to stop China going into Taiwan in the middle of the night and abducting the Taiwanese prime minister? What's to stop Russia going into Kyiv and trying to kidnap or even assassinate the Vladimir Zelensky, the leader of Ukraine? What's to stop them doing that? I mean, I think they'd probably try and do that if they thought they could get away with it. And now Trump has said, yeah, it's all right, you can get away with it. So Trump has openly invited US oil companies to move into Venezuela's energy sector. I just want to say this now, get it on the record. What is it today? It's the 4th of January, 2026. Good luck with that. The oil infrastructure of Venezuela has been knackered by years of underinvestment and shenanigans involving Maduro and before then Hugo Chavez, his predecessor. Yeah, good luck. Good luck securing those sites, mate. Good luck. And I was thinking about this. It's like, if these oligarchs, if these billionaires, oil men, tech bros want to maintain their hold on the world, right? And we think, well, how are we going to stop them? How can we possibly stop them? We don't have an army. We don't have a navy. We don't have an air force. No, we don't. But I'm going to say it out loud now, right? There's going to be a lot of sabotage going on in Venezuela. This is the plan. If Trump is taking the oil from the Venezuelan people, right, and the oil is being pumped out on Venezuelan land or even out to sea, they will have to guard every single oil facility like you would not believe. They will have to put hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of US troops on the soil, which he said he's prepared to do, boots on the ground, he said this already, to protect the oil at the cost to the American taxpayer, which they're not going to see. They're not going to see any dividends from it. They don't own these oil companies. So yeah, sabotage. And this might be like the blue touch paper, which I need to come to later when I get to the end of this sermon. But what can we do about it? Well, those data centers the data center, was it in Nashville, Tennessee? Was it, or was it in New Orleans? I can't remember. There's a data center that was set up by Elon Musk, and it's like it uses these gas turbines to create energy for the server farm, so people can make shit videos that look like gloop. And they're very vulnerable, aren't they? They're very, very vulnerable. I'm just saying, like, you know, they're polluting the air. They're killing the people who live nearby. If all those people go, we don't want this anymore. It seems very vulnerable. But I'll tell you this. Those data centers will have a sprinkler system. Doesn't that fuck you off? You know this, don't you? When it's humans downstairs in a club, no sprinkler systems. Human life, whatever. What does that mean? But when it's data, when it's stuff that we need to make shite look shit on server, then we have emergency fire suppression systems, don't we? Protect the data. The data must be protected at all costs. You think about like museums and art galleries and stuff like that. It's all the stuff in there is to protect the works of art, protect the historical artifacts that were probably looted from somewhere else. It's not to protect the people. People last. Isn't that mad? Isn't that mad? Just think about that for a moment. We protect property better than we protect people. We protect assets better than we protect people because we don't see humans as assets, and we fucking should do. You wanted to say what Britain's greatest natural resource is? It's us! And what a great line as well. Why doesn't some fucking politician say this? It's you. You are the fucking assets of this country. We don't have much gold. We got a little bit, as I learned last week. We haven't got much gold. We haven't got much tin. We haven't got much aluminium. We haven't got even much oil. We haven't got enough to serve our own needs when it comes to oil. What we have got is us. One of the most creative and welcoming and awesome group of people in the world. End of. We just are, especially up here in the north. I mean, your mileage may vary and you might run into the odd UKIPper now and again or refucker, but putting them aside for one moment, a lot of people in this country are fucking awesome and very creative and very interesting and have things to say and stories to tell. I mean, people go to Liverpool. Everyone wants to sing you a fucking song. Jesus Christ. I don't because I can't sing. Anyway, I'm going to just put a goal in for this morning's super chats. And I'll launch the confetti. But yeah, really need to get hurrying up with this sermon and get into the meat. So, Venezuela has declared a state of emergency and installed a successor government internally, which the vice president has now taken charge, apparently, but it's all a bit up in the air. Why? I want to talk about like the fact that I don't like Maduro. Never liked Nicolas Maduro. He is a fucking shitbag. He has starved his own people. He's caused millions of people to be displaced in his own country and had to become refugees in Colombia, in Brazil, in Panama, in Costa Rica. Like, he has done that. And he's a shit. He's an absolute fucking shit. But I don't allow bad guy logic to trump or to replace, I should say, international law. International law, because this becomes a huge house of cards if we go down this route. If powerful countries can kidnap leaders they dislike, no country remains safe. Not this one, none of them. The operation shreds the idea that sovereignty protects weaker states, the idea that sovereignty fucking exists. At the moment, at this time, in the history of the world, the only country that's safe, really, is America right now. And Trump has a list of enemies, a very long list of enemies, of people who looked at him funny once. And he's got all these grievances that, what he's done in Venezuela is allowed to play out, which I think it will be. I think it will be allowed to play out. I don't think that the Democrats over there are going to do fuck all about this. Someone said, Congress needs to do something. I'm like, what's it going to do? Write a strongly worded fucking tweet? Oh, fuck off. You can write a letter to Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer's going to write a letter to Trump. Trump can't read, you dickheads. What are you doing? He dictates his Truth Socials into his phone. It's not all in fucking capitals because he's shouting into his phone. Fucking dickhead. Anyway. And the idea that Congress is going to like swoop in and say the Constitution. I said this in my video that I shot last year in America with the Niagara Falls. I said, like, the Constitution, and I quote, the Constitution is not going to ride in on a white horse and save the day. And it's absolutely not. Congress had a choice, right? They could either put Trump in jail when it had the chance or not. And they chose not to. They put it through the fucking Congress knowing that it would be blocked by Republicans. Are you that naive? Are you that stupid that you think that the Republicans are gonna turn on the golden goose? Do you really think that, you fucking idiots? He can't do this without congressional approval. Yes, he fucking can. He absolutely can. There was a law in the 1940s allowing an American president to go and invade, which was updated in the 70s, to invade any fucking place he liked. This is why Ronald Reagan invaded Grenada. This is why Bush invaded Panama. This is why they can just do these invasions without having to ask Congress first if it's okay. They're allowed to do it. They have to notify Congress that they did it within 2 days, and then they've got 60 fucking days, 2 months to bring the troops back if Parliament, if their Congress says no. That's the law. Don't say, Congress didn't approve. Congress did approve this, mate, because they didn't put Trump in a fucking hole in the ground when they had the fucking chance. No use crying about it now. He didn't ask permission. Didn't have to. So this sets a dangerous precedent, which is echoed by what people said around the world. UN leadership warned that. The Latin American leaders condemned the breach of sovereignty and warned of escalation. US rivals used the attack as proof that Washington ignores the rules when it suits, which arguably it always has done, but never in such a flagrant way. No, in a lovely smelling way. European leaders, on the other hand, though, have spoken in really careful, lawyerly language about restraint and international law. And while no one in Europe rushed to celebrate this, nobody rushed to confront Trump about it either. Starmer's response pissed a lot of people off, me included, but I understand why he said it, right? I don't want to fall out with you in the chat about this. Graham's slagging off the South again. Not all Southerners. Do I need a little not all Southerners thing? I mean, to be honest with you, around here in Durham, it's not much better with all these fucking flags on every bloody lamppost. I don't really fucking leave the house. I hate seeing them. I hate seeing these filthy rags of nonsense on all the fucking lampposts. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck is that about? Anyway, so Keir Starmer, he refused he refused to immediately call the attack illegal, which he knows that it is. I mean, he was a lawyer who specialized in international and humanitarian law. Like, he knows it's illegal. He talked about needing the facts and speaking to allies and protecting British nationals. He emphasized the importance of US relationship in defense and intelligence, and we'll get to that. His tone sounded evasive and technocratic, which he always does, and not morally adequate. Let's put it that way. Not morally adequate. And I hate how it sounded. I hate what he said. But, and this is a big but, I understand why he said it. You see, Britain does not deal with the US as an equal partner. It's nowhere near equal. Like, Britain plugs directly into American-controlled systems that permeate every single facet of our lives. And when the US pulls the levers, Britain feels it immediately. Where they got power over us, trade and investment, US policy choices directly affect British exports, jobs, inward investments. Trump can hit British sectors with tariffs or pressure or regulatory pressure overnight. He can just sign a fucking order and just fuck us, right? He doesn't need Congress. He can do that by himself, and no fucker's going to stop him. We've seen this because, obviously, the Supreme Court hasn't tried to stop him doing anything. They're going to rule apparently this month over whether his tariffs are legal. Spoilers, I'd be very surprised if they don't rule that his tariffs are legal somehow through some, twists and turns. And on a 6-3 ruling, it's going to be, yeah, it's totally legal. Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. And one of the things that can also happen is if Trump turns his ire on the UK, will be punished by the market, not just by them, but by the markets, which punish uncertainty long before politicians can explain themselves. Don't forget, we have a banking system, a global financial system that runs through the US dollar. All credit cards, pretty much, are Visa or MasterCard. They're two American companies. That is the flow of money. That is you getting paid. That is you paying the rent. That is you going out and getting a drink. They're getting food. Okay? It's controlled by America. Your ability to get food is controlled by America. I know that sounds fucking crazy, but that is true. That is the reality. And the US uses sanctions and compliance to discipline allies like ourselves, as well as punish enemies. The US control, they run the dollar through US-controlled clearing systems. The British banks and firms, they fear Washington a lot more than they fear Westminster. I'll tell you that now. And then we've got the issue with defense and intelligence. Britain relies heavily on US intelligence, sharing to function at full capacity. We need that info coming from the Yanks. They own all of these surveillance satellites around the world. Without America, we are blind. And a downgrade in cooperation weakens our real-world security, not just diplomacy, but people who mean us harm. We're not going to find out about it until it's too late. And when we do find out about this stuff too late, it's always fucking horrific. And we will never know about the plots that have been uncovered by the security services and stopped in their tracks before they got the chance to go and set a bomb off at an Ariana Grande concert or whatever horrific things people have cooked up in their head. But Starmer has to protect this relationship because losing it carries the immediate risk that losing that intelligence will lead to the deaths of British citizens here and around the world. And then we've got the big one, haven't we? The nuclear question. Our nuclear deterrence. We can't maintain our nuclear arsenal without US support. The French can, by the way, but we can't. It's completely locked in to US support. And a political rupture could turn this deterrent into nothing. It ceases to become a deterrent. And we've wasted all this money on Trident. We've wasted all this money on nuclear bombs and nuclear missiles and the maintenance of them because the US can just flick the switch and say, no, you're not using them. And this is US pressure just how much they have us in a fucking chokehold. We have to acknowledge this. We have to understand this. And it's horrible. I fucking hate it. But I don't see many people talking about this. I've seen a lot of political commentators go, this is what Starmer should say. And I'm like, yeah, if he's just a gob on a stick, yeah, you'll fucking say that. But when these things are being, like, you know, held over us, what are we supposed to do? Is Starmer supposed to kill, in the long term, kill British citizens for the satisfaction of telling Trump to fuck off? In fact, here's the thing. It would be in Starmer's political interest to tell him to fuck off. He would get a lot more support if he told him to fuck off. Because people in this country fucking hate Trump. He represents everything we secretly hate about America, or secretly think about Americans. And this is something that would win him plaudits. People would love it. People would flock back to Labour if he stood up against Trump, but he's not going to, because he knows that his job as Prime Minister is not as important as keeping British citizens alive, keeping our economy afloat, not plunging millions of people into poverty in this country as a result of the power that the fucking US has over us. And you got the technology. I'm streaming on an American platform here. If you put in a super chat, which would be very nice of you, thank you very much. That's processed through American companies. That'll be a Visa. That'll be a MasterCard interaction. Even if the bank is a British bank, that money is still going through systems set up by America. And if Visa card and MasterCard are told by the US president, don't operate in Britain anymore, we're fucked. Our economy would grind to a halt like you would not believe, until we scramble around trying to get a new system in place, printing more fucking money so we can actually use cash again. Saz, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you, mate. That is kind of you. I mean, you got the tech side of it, and basically platform policy changes on the internet. Google, Cloudflare, here on YouTube, on Twitter, Etsy, on Facebook. Policy platform changes, and don't forget, all the tech bros are in Trump's hock. If in hock to Trump, if Trump says something to them, do this, jump, they'll say how high. So if he says, right, I want you to cut off Facebook to Britain for the day, and you may think, oh, well, fuck Facebook, you know, it's a load of shit anyway. Loads of companies rely on Facebook, unfortunately. Loads of companies rely on Google for people to find them and to be able to buy stuff off them. Amazon, think about the chokehold that Amazon has over this country. The people who rely on Amazon to give them not just, you know, bits of technical stuff and books, techno gizmos. No, also people rely on Amazon for giving them, getting them delivered really important stuff that they need to stay alive in some cases. And then we've got the fact that, you know, the cloud computing, our data, so much of it is stored in servers in other countries, some of them in the US, some of them elsewhere, owned by American companies. What happens if Trump tells these companies to turn that data off, our access to our own data? What happens if my YouTube profile, I know I'm just a small cog in all this, right? What happens if my YouTube profile just gets deleted because Trump doesn't like what I'm saying? Right, what if YouTube is not there tomorrow? Well, I can't make any money. That's me fucked. Oh, it's all right. I've got my island. I'll get people to stay on the island. Oh, no, that's Airbnb, innit? Although that's Canadian, but still evil. The way you get paid will go through American Visa, MasterCard processors. And then we've got, you know, the US law reaches into data held by American firms, no matter where it is. So you will have data about you that is owned by an American firm, but it's held in Britain. So there's a server farm in Britain and your data is on it, right? Under US law, they own that data, right? That data is theirs to do with what they please. Nice that, isn't it? You've surrendered your sovereignty there. You've given them your data and they can just turn it off. They can just delete it. They could delete all my videos off YouTube. Be absolutely fucked. And I'm just one person, one example. There are many more. There were so many things that would just grind to a halt. Our transport infrastructure would probably grind to a halt if Trump wanted it to. Our trains wouldn't run. I know it sounds like Chicken Little here, going, oh my God, the world will fall in. And we would survive as a nation. We definitely would survive. And we would find ways around it. Don't forget places like Iran have not been able to use Visa or MasterCard for decades. They've found their own way around it. Russia has made it so that it would, knowing that it would get sanctions placed on it after its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Knowing that would happen, they went out their way to shore up their economy in such a way that the sanctions wouldn't fuck them over too much. Putin built a war chest, and also he had backup choices to sell oil to places like China and India at a lower level, lower profits, but all of the money can be channeled into the military, can't it? And so digital dependence that we have on America, it limits our political independence. We're not an independent nation anymore. These dickheads going on about sovereignty. We were more sovereign when we were part of the EU, because at least then we had some people on our side. Thanks to Brexit, we're alone and completely vulnerable to the US in the way that other countries in the European Union are not. I mean, they still are vulnerable to the US, but not to the extent that Britain is. Britain is uniquely vulnerable because of the society that we have created for ourselves. And because the Tories are in charge and they weren't interested in infrastructure, they weren't interested in investments, all they wanted to do was destroy stuff and take money off people and feather their own fucking nests and give us austerity and give us Brexit and party during COVID and give us the Liz Truss mini fucking budget. Because they wanted to do all that. We've had fuck all investments in this country for years. And that means that in terms of tech, America is head and shoulders. It is just so far ahead. It is ridiculous. We are so far behind. And that's because of the government just not being interested. And that goes back to the 1980s, don't forget. We had some really successful British computer companies that were set up in the 80s. And the government, the Tory government, the Thatcher government, at the time, did everything in their power to fuck them over. Absolutely fuck them over. And now we're completely at the mercy of the Americans. The internet was created by the Yanks. They service it. The GPS satellites that we use for our cars to be able to fucking drive anywhere, those GPS satellites are American military fucking satellites. They can turn them off in certain areas. Say, you're not using that. No, fuck off. Which they do. So yeah, we've got this, just painful situation where, the strategic technology and are owned, controlled critical components of advanced technology is owned by American companies, which have to do what the American president tells them to do under an executive order. And Washington can delay, can deny, it can put conditions on any of these companies trading with the UK without much public drama. Well, I'm saying America or Washington. No, it's Trump. Trump can do this unilaterally. He's been given the power to do it by Congress, by the Supreme Court. Then we've got the US military presence here. The US forces operate from British bases under agreements that limit UK control. Britain gains power from this arrangement, but also, we inherit risk from it as well. The world assumes, British complacency when, Britain going along with whatever America needs to do because of this integration of American military here in this country. And don't forget, America's got, 700 military bases around the world? Yeah. And this is the argument that people don't, we don't want to hear, but we do need to hear it. That Starmer can't posture without real world consequences because of the fucking nutter in charge of the fucking White House. I hate this. I don't make excuses for him. I don't. I think he's been shit as the leader of Labour. I think he's not done us proud. And I say that as someone who, is a Labour member. I just like, what the fuck, man? What are you playing at? Why are you doing it this way? Why are your comms so shit? But yeah, Trump retaliates all the time, personally, economically, unpredictably. And retaliation will hit prices, jobs, borrowing costs, something else, borrowing costs going through the fucking roof, and public services in this country, which he can do. We can't affect them in the same way. We can't bring the American subway system, the New York subway system to a halt. There's a good chance the Americans, if they put their mind to it, they could stop the underground. If you think about that, the underground just stops. What the fuck are we going to do? Because the technology that underpins the underground might have some components from America. And they're like, no, not servicing them. No, not helping out with that. I don't know. Maybe the London Underground is an entirely self-contained service that's completely run by the UK. But they need new chips for the servers, for the computers that run it. I mean, where are they getting from? The US says, no, not doing that. Anyone who's got a Google phone or a Pixel phone, or an Android, not an Android, what's it called? An iPhone. It's an American phone. I know it's not made in America, but it's an American phone. Okay, well, I got a Samsung. It's that's South Korea, isn't it? No, because it runs on Android, which is an American company. And they can fuck us up. They can fuck us up at the flick of a switch. And you might think, oh, but they're going to lose loads of money if they do that. They don't give a fuck. They give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. These people are fucking lunatics. These multi-billionaires, they're fucking lunatics. They don't give a shit. They've got enough money. They've got enough money to live 32,000 lifetimes. They couldn't give a toss. So, the people don't want to hear this, but prime ministers have to sometimes absorb public anger to prevent wider harm, and that's why Starmer's done it. That's why he's done it. But you know what we could have done? Here's what we could have won. We could have had closer integration with our European partners. We could have had the EU backing us up. We could have all sung from the same hymn sheet as the EU. And the EU does have power over America, whereas we don't have any. On our own, we're fucked. Together, we're strong. And Britain can try and push international law through multilateral pressure, but it can't do it through insulting Trump. It just won't do any good at this point. What good will it do? It will make us feel better. It will improve Starmer's position in the polls, but it won't do any good for us, or the people of Venezuela, or the people of America, or the people of anywhere. And what we need to do is, reduce the long-term dependency and reduce the dependency long-term instead of pretending it doesn't exist. And so many people pretend it doesn't exist. We need to admit publicly that the US operates inside US dominated systems, how much of a threat to our sovereignty this really represents. The EU was not a threat to our sovereignty. The EU could not impose any laws on us. We had to agree to them. We had to make them part of our parliamentary law in this country after them being voted on by our MEPs in Strasbourg. And for the thousands of laws that went through in the time of the European Parliament that were integrated into British law by our choice. We only objected to like 6 of them. And then they were about, fishing for fucking pearls off the coast of Greece. It was something that didn't affect our economy in any way, shape, or form. Miss Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Most of the underground was built by crooked American anyway. Look up Charles Tyson Yerkes. Ooh, that's an interesting rabbit hole to go down, but not right now. But thank you very much, Miss Paula Thomas. And he says the public school class-ridden attitude has stifled innovation in this country. The establishment dismisses the innovative and installs those who are from the right background who have no merit. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. The best TV show of last year, Head and Shoulders, again, just far so outstripping absolutely everything else, wasn't Pluribus, although it was brilliant. It wasn't Severance, although it was brilliant. It was Adolescence. It was adolescence. And that was co-written by a guy, mixed race guy, Stephen Graham, from Liverpool, from like North Liverpool, like a really grotty bit of, I think he's from Knowsley, isn't he? Some grotty bit of Liverpool. And I say that as a Liverpudlian, you know, one of our best, probably the best actor of his generation from the UK. And it was co-written by him. And the kid who started it, I think he came from Warrington, and he didn't go to private school. He didn't go to the Sylvia Young's theatre school and all this kind of stuff. It costs thousands of pounds a term. No, he was just some kid. He was just some kid in a drama group in Warrington, and they managed to tell this story that captivated not just this nation but other countries around the world. Questions were asked. You know, it was brought up in Parliament. That's how much of an impact it had. That's how much of an impact it can have when ordinary people are allowed, for once, to tell their own fucking stories instead of this absolute mad obsession we have in this country of like, let's spend 2 hours in the presence of posh people. You know, Notting Hill. Oh, Four Weddings and a Funeral. Gosford Park. Oh, Downton Abbey. Let's go down to Downton Abbey. Oh, what are the rich people up to today? Every fucking historical drama we make is about rich people who someone wants to marry someone, doesn't want to marry that person, and they want to marry. And we make so much fucking glurge of this. And at the same time, we make no sci-fi. We make absolutely no fucking sci-fi. Go on, name. I've asked this before. Name me a British sci-fi movie. Go on, off you pop. Actually, name me five British sci-fi movies. I don't want British movies. Yeah, I don't want American movies that were shot over here. I want British movies, British productions, British studio, British producers, British director, British cast. Go on, name one. I can think of one. In my lifetime. Ask me to think of some period dramas. I could just reel off so fucking many. Ask me to tell a story. Ask me about, like, you know, stories about rich people. I have many. And isn't it mad, like, when we think about good British movies, the ones that really capture the heart of the nation are stuff about ordinary people, like The Full Monty or Billy Elliot, where it's someone from a mining background here in Durham who manages to become the prima ballerina at the London, what's it called, the National Ballet School. It's called. Sorry, I'm not massively into ballet these days. But yeah, it's someone's been gotten rid of. Matt Smith. What was Matt Smith saying? He seems to be saying quite a lot. Sorry about that, Matt. I didn't read what you said, but oh well, never mind. Not see it now. Stephen Graham is ace. Yeah, he is. Quatermass and the Pit. Wow. Isn't that amazing? I'm here in 2025 and I'm like, name me a British science fiction film. And it's like Quatermass and the Pit. From what, 1959 was it? When was Quatermass and the Pit came out? Yeah. Stephen Graham is ace. He absolutely is. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. No, American production company. 1984. Is that really science fiction? Plus it was an American production company. The Time Machine. No. Children of Men, that was an American production company. Ex Machina, American production company. Like American studio, sorry, I'm not production company, studio, American studios. I think Quatermass was the first show, because it was a TV movie, wasn't it? Was it the original one? I think it was the first ever time they put the number 2 in the sequel. It was called Quatermass 2, wasn't it? A lot of people think it's The Godfather Part 2 was the first film to have like a number after, because before then, this seems weird to say this now, but like each movie in a particular series would have a different name. So it would be Planet of the Apes, and then it would be Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and then it would be Beyond the Planet of the Apes, or whatever it was. And you'd have like King Kong. It wouldn't be King Kong 2. It would be Son of Kong. You'd have Frankenstein, and it wouldn't be Frankenstein 2. It would be Bride of Frankenstein or something else. It'd be a different name for each sequel. We only started putting numbers in the 70s. Sunshine. Yes, Ernie Burns, you're absolutely right. That is a British production, British studio, British production company. Danny Boyle's Sunshine. There you go. There's one film. One bloody film. Doctor Who and Daleks' Invasion of London, 1964. I mean, isn't this crazy? We're having to go back 60 years. Virtually no sci-fi since the obsession with comic super. Well, no, we don't make superhero films either. David Peacock, that's an American thing. But there's been some really good sci-fi. I mean, Pluribus is sci-fi. Well, it's a TV show, I suppose. Films last year. You could argue that that Begonia is a sci-fi movie. There've been some really Mickey 17. That was a sci-fi movie. It was shit, but it was a sci-fi movie. Sunshine is the go. It is very good. Does V for Vendetta count? No, it absolutely doesn't count because it was an American studio who made it. And also it starred an American playing Evie. There was 2 Doctor Who films in the 60s, both starring Peter Cushing as the Doctor, which isn't canon. They're not canon, are they? Anyway, I don't think we got to 5 yet. Attack the Block. Yeah, that was a good movie. Yeah, I suppose you could argue that was a science fiction. It's aliens, isn't it? That was written by one of the guys from Adam and Joe, wasn't it? I think it was Adam. Was it Joe? I don't know. One of them. They both went to private school, though. So, you know. Generally talking about sci-fi. Yeah. It's kind of depressing, I feel, for the country that invented the genre of science fiction through Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and then came up with so many great science fiction ideas. I know we didn't have Jules Verne, but we did have H.G. Wells, and we just never really capitalized on that as much as we absolutely should have done. Gravity is UK made. Yeah, there's a lot of productions that are American productions, but they're made in the UK. Star Wars was made in the UK. Although that isn't sci-fi, it's space fantasy. It's slightly different. But yeah, so let's go back to what the actual, what the UK can do about it. We need to treat our dependency on the USA as a security risk. That's what we need to do, not a diplomatic nicety. We need to treat it like what it is. It is a genuine security risk. And we need to act with Europe rather than trying to perform alone. You know, we need to coordinate responses with European leaders before speaking publicly, which I think is what Starmer did. Because don't forget, yesterday in the morning when he was asked about this, he said, "Oh, I haven't formulated an opinion on it yet." And if you have a look at what other leaders said, in fact, I will, because you know, I'm so nice to you, aren't I? I will actually bring this up onto the screen here. There we go. We can read this. So in the UK, Keir Starmer said the UK was not involved in the operation, and he wants to speak to Trump to establish the facts first before committing further. In France, Emmanuel Macron called for Maduro's 2024 opposition candidate, Edmundo Gonzalez, who he refers to as president to oversee a peaceful democratic transition. In Germany, Merz said Maduro led his country to ruin, which is true, but adds the government is taking time to decide if US actions broke international law. Like, I'm not an international lawyer, you know. They fucking broke the law. I mean, it's like finding someone standing over a dead body, you know, like stab marks in it, and they're holding a knife, and they're like, "Did I do a bad thing?" And you're like, "Yes, Ivan. Yes, Ivan, you did do a bad thing." Sorry, that's a reference to Monkey Dust, if anyone watched that TV show. Italy next. Giorgia Meloni said that external military action is not the way to put an end to a totalitarian regimes, but adds that it is legitimate to defend against attacks on one's own sovereignty. In Spain, the Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said Spain did not recognize Maduro's regime, but nor will it recognize an intervention that violates international law. You see the careful language used there, and obviously we're talking in Spanish, not English, but the careful language. They will not recognize an intervention that violates international law. They don't say that this violates international law. That's, you know, that's got to be worked out by, you know, smarter people than me. Whoa. And then we've got the European Union, the High Representative for Foreign Affairs, Kaja Kallas, says that the EU has repeatedly stated that Maduro lacks legitimacy, but calls for restraint and respect for international law. So, yeah, all in all, it's not great, is it? It's not great. It's not really what you want on a Saturday morning. But it does look to me, reading those responses, that they have had a conversation beforehand and they've said, we can't just tell him it's against the law. We can't just tell him to fuck off. And I might say, yeah, we would have been more powerful had we been part of the EU, and we definitely would have been more powerful. We would have had more of a leg to stand on. Again, we would have more of a leg to stand on in this situation. But even in this situation, it's quite difficult. But what I'm thinking of, and what no politician seems to ever think of, is the fucking long run. I'm thinking what human civilization is going to be like in 10,000 years' time. Never mind the next 5 fucking years. And the societies that we're building right now, it's going to make such a fucking difference. The fact that we are putting so much carbon into the atmosphere, the fact that we are putting so much plastic into our water supply, into the air that the microplastics are insane. The amount that we are ingesting, the amount that we're, and that is going to be a problem for thousands of years to come. Nuclear power, decommissioning a nuclear power station takes fucking years. It takes decades in some cases. It's not a great way of doing it. I'd rather not. If all the same to you, I'd rather not rely on that. I'd rather have our power delivered. And this seems really simple to me. So explain to me why it can't work. We update the grid. We have loads of solar power. We have panels. We have loads of wind turbines. And we manage to create 99% of our energy needs using this renewable energy. And we have 10 million cars on the road, and they're all electric, and they all have a battery. We have 10 million batteries to pull energy from when we need to balance the grid, when there's not enough power coming in from wherever. We also have interconnectors with Europe, so we can get more power from Europe if we need to. How many cars in the United Kingdom? There are, 34 million cars. Okay? Yeah, that's going to deliver all the power we need. That's fucking crazy, isn't it? 34 million cars. Starmer's deal with Trump, such as it was, saved JLR, the 6-week shutdown, that the recent cyber attack cost our economy at least $2 billion, says John H. Thank you very much for the super chat, John H. And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Miss Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. To be fair, Starmer did cut off US access to UK Caribbean intelligence sources right at the beginning of this, and we do have better sources than the US does there. Yep, that's absolutely true. And if you want to look at it in terms of the interests of the Commonwealth, Guyana had this sword of Damocles hanging over it that Venezuela was threatening to invade. They actually had a referendum in which 90% of the respondents said, yeah, let's invade our neighbour and kill them for their oil. So that was a bit of a worry. So yeah, like I say, I'm not defending Maduro. I do want him to stand trial for his crimes against humanity, crimes against the Venezuelan people. But this sets, such a cliche, but it's true, it sets a dangerous precedent. In this time in the world, it is not good. The idea that if a leader travels to New York to go to the UN, they can be kidnapped by the US authorities and taken into custody. That's a worry. So it means the UN's fucked. This is a fantastic way for Trump to fuck the UN, which I think is, what he wanted to do, isn't it? Let's face it. He doesn't like the UN. David says, gone from Starmer to British sci-fi films to renewable energy. Is my mum listening to Graham, lol. Yeah, don't know where I'm going next. Hey. But yeah, what else do we need to do? So, talking about our power. We need to rebuild industrial and energy resilience at home. We need to invest in domestic energy security, energy self-sufficiency, to reduce exposure to external shocks, not least from America. We also need to rebuild strategic manufacturing capacity instead of relying on imports for absolutely everything, because that puts us in hock to China as well. And we need to treat supply chains as national infrastructure, not just the free market. We need to look at it and go, hang on, we need this stuff. We need this stuff for our society to function, and we need to treat it as such. And going back to the EU, by the way, if we were a member of the EU, we could, as a member of the EU, instead of Starmer making a statement, they could have run it through Ursula von der Leyen or someone to say, this is our statement on behalf of the whole European Union, and it could have been stronger as a result of that, by the way. And because it makes retaliation harder for America when you remove easy to hit single country targets. And it spreads the political and the economic risk across multiple countries to 20, it would be 28 countries. And we also need to reduce our financial exposure to US pressure points. We need to strengthen UK and European financial clearing alternatives. Financial clearing, that's what it's called, isn't it? We need to limit our over-reliance on the dollar-denominated systems where possible. At the moment, all oil anywhere around the world is supposed to be traded in oil. So if you are a Dutch oil company and you're buying oil from Nigeria, you have to pay not in euros, not in Nigerian. What's the currency in Nigeria? I can't remember. I've got a note somewhere. Whatever they have in Nigeria. Let's say dollars. You don't pay in Nigerian dollars. You pay in US dollars. And so that's something that we could look at as the European Union, but we're not in the European Union anymore. We need to protect firms, British firms, from secondary sanctions via collective action. That is something that we could definitely do now. And we need to be setting out our stall for the future, where we are less reliant on one particular partner, on one particular thing. And getting back into the EU makes so much sense from a political point of view and an economics point of view, but also from a point of view of sovereignty. Because actually, rather than delivering us more sovereignty, Brexit has taken that sovereignty away. Our ability to say fuck off Trump has been severely diminished by our exposure to the US, which has been exacerbated by us leaving the EU. We don't have the same protections that we once had we remained a member. We need to reduce reliance on US cloud providers for critical government functions. Don't forget the government. I'm talking about the underground. I mean, the fucking government won't be able to go ahead without this cloud infrastructure. The NHS relies on American tech. Our health service could fall apart. We need to treat data infrastructure as a national security issue. Again, we need to look at these things as national security, as our sovereignty. Like, what can we do on our own without having to, beg at the table of the Americans for fucking scraps? We need to diversify our defense capability without, upsetting the Americans too much. So just slowly moving away. And Trump's, in a weird way, done us a bit of a solid here, because he said, I want you to spend more on your defense. And we're like, okay then. But we don't have to spend that money on American defense firms. We don't have to spend that on their military-industrial complex. We don't have to spend it on them. We can spend that money, which is 2.5% of GDP at the moment. We can spend it on British companies, BAE Systems, etc. We can get the stuff from there. We can buy stuff from Europe. And we need to be like, I really do think that the not just doing that because Trump's a terrible leader, but just in the future, it makes so much more sense. And something that Britain did in the past quite successfully, and we seem to have not learned anything from our history because it's been reduced to a statue rather than actually looking into what we did in the past and what worked and what didn't work and what we can do now to make things better for people here and people around the world, and what we certainly shouldn't do to make things worse. But yeah, we need to, if we spread out our defense needs across different states, different countries, then it means that no one country can absolutely fuck us when it comes to defense. If one country says, we're not going to supply you those F-15s that we said we're going to, okay, we'll get them somewhere else, or whatever the plane is, we can get them somewhere else. We'll get them somewhere else. Okay, we'll pivot. And this is why it's so difficult now, when so much of the world's economy after 1990 was set up in such a way that we had these supply chains going across countries. And it's one of the reasons why Brexit fucked us so badly, is because of these supply chains, the idea that you're putting a car together in Scunthorpe, but the gearbox is coming from Poland, it's coming from Gdansk, and the panels are coming from Spain, and the windows are coming from in Switzerland or somewhere, you know, and all those components coming together in just-in-time delivery, which was set up so we didn't need warehouse space, so we could just have the things turning up when they were needed to be added to the production line. All that stuff becomes a lot more difficult, and a lot of our defense infrastructure goes through different countries, including America. And if they pull out one critical component and say you're not getting that, you're not getting your hands on those things. Like what people wanted us to do this with Israeli arms. We stopped selling a lot of arms to Israel that could be used to further their genocide over there. But there were certain things. Again, it sounds like I'm making excuses. I'm just trying to explain the thinking of Labour, okay, or the thinking of the government. There are certain things that if they decided, I'm going to take that component away, that whole system would fall down, and it would end up costing us a lot of money, because these other countries that have their, these contracts with the Israelis to supply these weapons or planes or ships or whatever the fuck they're buying, if we say we're not going to supply this component, those other countries are going to turn around and sue the fucking arse off us. And what happens then is that the government has to pay out that fucking fine, and that fine is not being paid by Keir Starmer. It's being paid by us, the taxpayer. The taxpayer who foots every fucking bill. Ooh, Saz, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. You know what that means, Saz, don't you? You know what that means. You know what that means. It means, I can only mean one thing. 3, 2, 1, confetti! Woo! Okay. Yeah, and we need to also, we need to use diversification to gain leverage, and that's what we need to do when it comes to defense. And we need to be honest. We need more honesty. We need to say, this is why we're doing it. You want to know why we're sucking up to Trump? This is why we're sucking up to Trump. You want to change it? Let's change it together. Yeah? You want us to tell Trump to fuck off? Well, let's rejoin the EU then. All the people on the left go, no, we need to do it. And you're like, okay, well, why did you support Brexit then? These Lexiteers, fuckers. I mean, the Brexiters are bad enough because they're just thick, ignorant bastards or millionaires, one of the two. But, the Lexiteers, what are you doing? Oh, we need to reduce the amount of, rights that workers have in this country. Why? I don't know. Jesus Christ. We need to make it so there's fewer jobs, less investments. That's what this country needs, less investments. We need to make the country poorer. And I think some of these knobheads believe that, like, if things get bad enough, right, then people will turn. People will go, oh, I'm not happy with these Tories, not happy with these refuckers. They'll turn and there'll be some mad revolution and everyone will rise up and we'll have this socialist utopia. It's never going to happen. It's never, ever, ever going to happen. It's never happened in history. It's never going to happen. It's just never going to happen. Not in this country. Because, we might get a day that we're all supposed to go out and destroy the infrastructure and bring down the monarchy and eat the prime minister, whatever, and it might rain. I'm like looking out going, we'll have to leave eating the prime minister for another day. It's not going to happen. And I think it's awful that there are people out there who think, let's make things awful. Some people voted for Brexit for this reason. They thought it will make things so bad that it will topple the regime in this country. And put the person that they want in power. And I'm like, if you want the person you want in power to be in power, then give them the platform to do their thing. And if they're popular enough, they'll get power, I guess. I don't know. I just think that's more likely, although it is vanishingly unlikely, but it is more likely than everyone rising up. What normally happens when people are hungry, when people are weak, when people are sick, is to curl up into a ball and die. That's why civil wars are so fucking horrific. I hated that movie, Civil War, Alex Garland's Civil War. Like, I like Alex Garland. I've liked him since I read The Beach back in the 90s when I was on holiday when I was traveling. I didn't go on holiday, I travel. When I was traveling around Egypt, reading The Beach. But that particular film fucked me off because I thought it romanticized the idea of a civil war. I thought it was really irresponsible for him to release it in a critical year when it looked like a tyrant like Trump was going to get elected, which he did. I'm not saying it's all Alex Garland's fault, but because in a real civil war, it's not all about people walking around with guns pretending that they're in the military. It's about people, families in the corner of their cellar, freezing to death. Starving to death. dying of an easily preventable disease because they can't get their medication. It's about asthma sufferers choking because they can't get their Ventolin inhalers. It's about people who have insulin dependence not being able to get their insulin and dying. That's what real civil war's like. Logistics, my friends. Logistics goes through out the window, and lots of people just die quietly in the corner, and they're not going to die a hero. Everyone seems to think, oh yeah, we'll have a civil war, and then civil wars are fucking horrific. War's horrific enough. Civil war particularly horrific. Anyway, so we also need to strengthen international law through institutions. We need to punish violations, through the UN, through processes, But unfortunately, it's so weak at the moment because we have a United Nations that has 5 permanent members of the Security Council. You got France, reasonable enough, I guess. We've got UK, okay, whatever. But then you've got the 3 fucking terrors. You've got the USA, you've got China, and you've got Russia. Good luck with that. Good luck with getting something that's seen as anti-capitalist through with the American veto that they have in the Security Council. Good luck at getting something that's pro-democracy through China. Yeah. Good luck getting something that's anti-corruption through with Russia going, yeah, this is cool. Let's stop all this corruption. That literally is the thing that keeps us alive. The people in power, not the Russian people. But yeah, we need to we need to make sure that no other countries who are looking at what the US has just done go ahead and just do this themselves. And this is where being part of the EU again would really help. But we're not part of the EU because some posh twats who all went to private school, who are all millionaires, who wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire, said, oh, you should leave the EU. That would be great. That would be a great idea. Or you should all leave the EU. Twats. And we need to make sure that America doesn't do the same thing in fucking Greenland. So we need a response that is measured and clever and a way of stopping, a cunning solution we need to this problem. And we're not going to come up with that alone, I don't think, or have the power to push it alone. And I genuinely believe that NATO needs to be restructured. I think that on the back of this, NATO, and Trump's hatred of NATO, it's like, fine, we'll have a new treaty organization built on basically the foundations of NATO. But that also includes, I don't know, Australia, New Zealand, Japan. And when it comes to intelligence sharing, that would be really fucking helpful. I know it's going to take a few weeks for a battleship from Australia to come and help us out here in the UK. But I mean, when it comes to sharing information, we're already part of the Five Eyes security network. I mean, it would make sense. And then, and also, once you get the intelligence is so much more important than actual firepower. Because if you can stop the thing happening in the first place, you don't need to use the firepower. But also, I mean, we also need to build for long-term political resistance, That's what we need to do. We need to accept there is no instant fix to this. Accept that Starmer can't tell Trump to just fuck off, as much as we would love him to say that. We can't have a heroic confrontation on this because this isn't a movie. This is real life. And if we fuck off Donald Trump, that one twatty person, if we fuck him off, he has the power to destroy the lives of millions of people in this country. And it's the poorest people living in the most deprived areas who will suffer the most, as it always is. As it always is. A country enters a recession, it's the poorest who suffer. If a country goes into a depression, it's the poorest who fucking die. So we need to build resilience. We need to build a consensus for resilience. We need to work with our European partners, and we need to, in the long term, we need to get back into the fucking EU as soon as possible. Britain cannot escape American power overnight. It just can't. But we can reduce how easily the Americans can hurt ordinary people in this country. And that work is boring. It's expensive. It's slow. It's not heroic. It's not life-affirming. It's not going to make you jump on the table and scream, yes! It's just not. If you want that, go watch the football. But this is absolutely necessary for us to do as a nation, to realise what the situation is right now. And Maduro deserved removal. He is a cunt. He absolutely was a dead set, cot-bottomed, cast-iron cunt. But not like this. Trump broke the rules because he believes that his power is more important than law. And Starmer's response was based on the knowledge that Britain exists and operates within an American-built system. And the problem here isn't one politician, it's not one party leader, it's not one prime minister or president. It is the architecture of dependence on one other country. If Hungary wants to go fucking rogue, doesn't destroy the rest of the EU. In fact, the EU can just get rid of it. Article 49, peeps. Come on, do it. But America decides to go rogue, which it has. What can we do? What can we do? So, I'll never forgive Trump for everything, not least this. And I don't applaud Starmer's response, but I know why he made it. And I blame the imbalance that makes obedience safer than honesty. Because sometimes, my friends, honesty is not the best policy, especially in politics. That woman was a bigot, Gordon. That woman was a bigot, but you shouldn't have said it out loud, especially with your mic still on. We need an answering machine message like on Pluribus when Carol upsets the hive. Do you know who did that message? It was the guy from Better Call Saul. You know the oh god, I forgot his name now. Hamlin was it? What was his name? The guy who, yeah, if you've seen Better Call Saul, his story, I don't know, spoilers for people who haven't watched Better Call Saul. What's his name? The guy they worked with at the company at Howard Hamlin. Howard! Was it Howard? Yeah, it's Howard who does the voice for the answering machine message in Pluribus. And if you haven't watched Pluribus, yeah, I mean, please, it's very good. What the hell is wrong with YouTube? There's nothing wrong with that comment. I don't know, Chris. I don't make the rules. All we need is to make sure we control the bloc that's supposed to be run by Russia. Indeed. We're British. We can have a little moan about it and then carry on as usual, says Russ. Yeah. And Diz says Flump is destroying the peace of the whole world. He absolutely is. He absolutely is. It is genuinely terrifying, like what he's doing. And I think that the only way they're going to stop him in America, stop relying on the Constitution. It's not going to save you. Stop relying on the rule of law. It's not going to save you. Stop relying on the Congress. They're not going to save you. Stop relying on the Supreme Court. They're not going to save you, but not by a long chalk. What America needs to happen is for people to rise up. And there are certain places in America that aren't very well protected that, people could do something about if they were so minded. No one needs to get hurt. No one needs to get injured. And it could change everything. Obviously, I can't say exactly what I'm thinking, but you read between the lines. Anyway, Christ, yes, she's on chicken and rice at the moment. Chris, yes, she's on chicken and rice. Christ, what? Chris. But she might not want to eat today. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Beautiful show. Great use of colour in Pluribus. I thought you were talking about my show was beautiful. You're talking about Pluribus. The cinematography in Pluribus was, and like comparing it to Stranger Things, which, the ending was all right. Again, no spoilers, but it was only all right. It was a little bit like, let's explain things over and over again. And I feel like a lot of Stranger Things, it's like, okay, we need a plan. And they sit around going, okay, here's the plan. And they pick up like an object. They go, right, these scissors, I've got my scissors here, snip, snip. These scissors represent the bad guy, Vecna. And this hip flask represents, and you're like, what the why have you got a big pair of scissors and a hip flask on your desk? I don't know. I just do. But yeah. And then they go, yeah, but what about? And they go, well, what we need. And what's quite I found quite infuriating about Stranger Things is every time they came up with a theory of like why things were the way they were with no evidence whatsoever, it was just basically a wild theory. It was always right. Every time they went, I think that there's an upside down, and you go in and it's our well, but it's upside down. And it's like, that was a bit of a leap, wasn't it? I mean, that was a bit of a leap. I'm just saying it was at that point for what they knew at that point. And they're like, I think that this is going to happen. And one of the kids, Lucas, goes, I think this is going to happen on this particular date. And they're like, okay. And it does. And it's just like, what the fuck? I think he's going to do this on this particular date. And he does. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, we thought he'll do that on this particular date. God, he could have fucked them over by doing it a day earlier, couldn't he? Anyway, but yeah, I'm sorry. I just got in and out here. I've got 4 conversations going on, says Al. You sit bored then all at once like a bus thing. What? I love the backdrop of New Mexico in Pluribus. Pluribus was so good. And like every scene in it, although it is quite slow, but every scene meant something. Every scene added to the plot, added to the furthering of the characters in the show, and it just, even if they just do one season, I just think that was a fantastic bit of television, and it's one of those that gets you talking. If you meet someone else who's seen Pluribus, it's just a great little conversation starter to go like, well, what would you do? Is it nearly the 12th night yet? Aid is looking forward to having that Christmas tree removed from his bottom. Yeah, it's nearly. I think it's the 7th, isn't it? Isn't it? No. What's 12th? When is 12th night? I'm going to type this in. It's tomorrow, isn't it? Is it the 5th? When is 12th night? Cat's already taken the rest of the decorations down today. It's tomorrow. Yeah, it's the 5th. The 5th. I did say the 7th for some reason, but yeah, it's the 5th. So tomorrow will be the last day, I'm afraid. Give me your last day tomorrow, Aid. Up there. What else have we got in? Russell Tuesday. What? So everything's going back to normal tomorrow. You'll be getting the normal slate of shows, which are Morning Brew every morning at 9:00 every weekday morning, and then we'll be having on Monday night. We'll be having Stateside at 9:00 with Scott Williams. On Tuesday, we'll be having an episode of the Geoscope with Ollie Bowler Hatman. And then on Wednesday, we'll be jumping down the rabbit hole with Rachel. And also, we'll be doing PMQs as well at lunchtime at 12:00. On Thursday, in the morning, we'll be doing a morning brew. But in the evening, it'll be either the Swear Jar or one of the other shows I'm cooking up. We might do a new episode of Where the Fuck Are We? We haven't done that for ages, have we? You know, when I used to just try and find somewhere in the world and using GeoGuessr, and everyone join in and say what they thought it was. That was fun. Maybe we'll start doing that again. Maybe I'll get something out of Lego. Didn't get any Lego presents this year, but maybe if I did. And on Friday, as always, we've got the morning brew in the morning. We've got my discussion with Phil Morehouse at 1:00 of the agenda, and then at 9:30 in the evening, or thereabouts, we should be entering the Friday night social zone. And you're very welcome to join us for all of that. And obviously on Sundays at 11:00, we have the Sunday sermon. So there you go. I never know how to work out when it is. Does Christmas Day count as the first night, or you count it from the day after? I don't know. I just Googled it and said the 5th. So this tree is going to get undecorated tomorrow and planted in my back garden because it's a real tree and it has real roots and it's in a real bucket of soil. Fakari was fun. Yeah, it was fun. I like doing Fakari. Where the fuck are we? And yes, the post-Cold War global order ended last year. Now we have to adapt the best we can. I absolutely agree. And Eastern Orthodox Christmas is the 7th of January for those who want another reason to keep the decorations up. That's very true. Anyway, so welcome to 2026. Jesus, what a fucking baptism of fire this has been. Another fucking grim start to the year, unfortunately, because of the dickhead, evil, money grubbing, grift lord motherfuckers who have so much power over us, and we just let them. Again, going back to the movie Speak No Evil, why are you doing this to us? Because you let us. And we need to stop letting them. And we need to speak out more. And we need to get more in touch with our representatives. Because they are our representatives, no matter where they're from. Just hassle the shit out of them. I think Ivan Ambrose is just such a great example of how if you hassle your MP enough about something, eventually you'll probably get it talked about in Parliament. So do it. Absolutely do it. They're supposed to, especially when it's their own constituent, they're supposed to respond to you. So there you go. What a ghoul that woman is, says Diz. Yes. I did the same with a real tree. Mine's 5 meters tall now. What? Yeah, this is going to be a lot bigger next year, I hope. It only took me 4 attempts to tell you about Katie Miller. I have twinkly fairy lights. It's like a winter wonderland in my house. Don't plant it next to the house, Graham. You'll regret it. Release it back into the wild. Oh, we've got space. We've got space. Don't worry. Our backyard's not that small. Christmas trees don't survive very well in the garden. I tried one last year and it didn't survive. I'm quite lucky because my beautiful partner, Catherine, she has green fingers. Copper. Filigree. What's it called? Anyway, she has green fingers, so she should be able to keep it alive, I think. We'll find a spot for it. Do not worry. What the fuck is this 12th night business? It's when you take your decorations, when you take your Christmas decorations, when you take your pagan Christmas decorations down after celebrating the pagan festival of midwinter. Pagan. As a kid, I insisted my parents get me a Christmas tree with roots and plants. Now they have a small forest at the bottom of the garden. Brilliant. This was my last tree year. Been collecting Christmas ornaments. Gonna just make a tin display next year. Brilliant. The roots spread like fuck. Yeah. You have to use loamy soil, black with sand, says Sean. I'm getting some great gardening advice from the chat here. It's so good. Yeah. It's not just me delivering a sermon. We actually have a two-way conversation. Imagine you went to church and the guy in the dress was standing there going blah 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 blah, Jesus, and then he said, "Any questions?" You can put your hand up. So if you die and you've been married twice, and your first wife died, who do you get in the afterlife? Who do you spend the afterlife with? There's a movie about that came out last year. I think called Afterlife. Anyway, so or something like that. Okay, Eternity. Was it called Eternity? I don't know. I haven't seen it. Pete, quite the opposite. They have a small root plate and blow over dead easy. Okay, listen. If you want to go over to the Discord server, the Politics Social Discord server, you're very welcome to continue this discussion on where the best place to put my Christmas tree in the back garden will be. Anyway, until then, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining us this morning, and now it's this afternoon, which is kind of cool. I've got shit to get on with, so I'm going to get on with my shit. Thank you so much for the super chats. If you could do me one favor before you go, obviously it's kids a like. We always like a like. And also, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to find out when we are going live. And then, when something happens and I go, oh, we should talk about this. But until then, until next time, until tomorrow, 9 o'clock, bright and early, morning brew. Starting, that to me, tomorrow is the first day of the year. Because that's when I'm going to get started. I'm going to get all my ducks in a row. I say this every year, but this year, I'm on ADHD medication. I'm going to get all my ducks in a bloody row. And until then, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.